Welcome to Enter the Mind podcast, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. In today's episode, Kyra and I will be talking about inner versus outer alignment. Before we get to that, Kyra, how are you today?
I'm doing super well. I'm a bit tired, but I'm doing just spectacular. It's been incredible. How are you?
That's dope. Well, yesterday I celebrated my 36th birthday, and you are into numbers and that, I don't know if you would call it numerology, but check this out. You're going to love this.
Okay.
I'm at the Cosmopolitan. They put me, again, my 36th birthday. I didn't tell them anything. I didn't tell them one thing. They put me on the 36th floor in the 36th room, and I'm turning 36.
Get the
What do you
fuck out of here.
I know. What do you think that means? That's
It
good luck,
means
right?
that this is your year. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gonna
Oh
destroy
my
this year.
God.
Everybody
That's
move out of the way.
incredible.
This is
Yes.
my year. It's 36. Here we go.
Woo! That's incredible. I didn't realize it was your birthday again this year. Are you a Gemini?
I am, yeah.
Oh, that explains it.
I like to stay under the radar, though. That's why.
Well, happy
You didn't see
birthday.
any. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And one of my goals this year, I would say, is inner outer alignment. How's that for a segue?
Yeah.
So, well, what got you thinking about this topic?
Actually, I had a rash on my throat a few weeks ago. It wasn't in it, but it was topical. And there was just like a red rash, and my neck was so itchy. And I was like, wait, what is this a manifestation of? And I was like, it's a 100% a manifestation of me not speaking my full truth. It's
Ooh.
forming on my neck as a rash, and it's itching, and it's like, I'm going to continue to itch until you speak your truth. So I wound up being really super honest on Instagram. I didn't really realize that I was kind of withholding a lot of information about who I am and what I do in my company, and I let it all out, and it literally like opened up so many doors. Like, it opened up for collaborations, it opened up for revenue, it opened up for making new connections. It just opened up so much once I finally started putting that stuff on the internet that I was genuinely afraid of putting on the internet. So after that, my rash went away. And then as I was talking to a friend of mine, Lucy, most of the time our conversations, I'll tell her a bunch of stuff and then she'll simplify it and she'll go, so is this what you're saying? And then she'll simplify it and I'll be like, oh my God, yes. So I feel like she's really good at interpreting her inner feelings into her words. And so ever since all of this has been happening, I've just been really thinking about inner outer alignment and the way that your words come out of your inner world to describe, attract, align, explain what you want to get out there the way that you feel it inside.
Yeah. I love that interpretation of the skin rash that you had, because that's an interpretation that leads to growth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened. It sounds like you grew from this experience tremendously.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why physical ailments, I feel like, are always a deeper underlying reason. Like, if you have like something wrong with you, like, check. Like, what is it a manifestation of in your inner world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those inner feelings, it's interesting how we keep them bottled up so much. I was just the other day thinking about what was it? Oh, during my journaling experiences, one of the questions I ask myself is, what am I feeling right now? And when I actually stop to really look inwards and check in, I notice all of these things going on internally that up until that point I had not been aware of. And so, those images of like the universe they show where it's like it just goes on like infinite, right? And
I
you're
think
like,
so.
dang, like where, yeah, just like photos of like outer space or whatever, right? And you're like, whoa, like this just goes on forever. What about internally? If you look inwards, how deep does that go? We're infinite on the inside almost.
No, that is very true. Are you talking about, as in like going into your inner world and going into the depth of you? Are you saying it's almost like endless, like there's endless things that you can find inside of yourself?
Yeah, just that I'm constantly surprised by how many thoughts and feelings that I kind of that took place, but maybe at the subconscious level. So maybe I wasn't aware of the thought or the feeling. But then when I sit down and I do my journaling, I become aware of those thoughts and feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I completely feel that, and that's super true. I feel like I want to talk about the alignment. So, when you sit there and you journal, do you feel like you're good at interpreting onto paper what's going on in your inner world? Do you feel like that inner to paper connection is clear?
Not always. It feels like it's like cloudy unless I do some sort of, I don't know, unless it's like first thing in the morning or unless I do some sort of relaxation before.
Mm, mm, that's interesting. So it seems to me that when we meditate, we relax, and that's when we can receive the answers. And in real life, if we relax enough, we can deliver the proper message aligned from within. So I
Hmm.
find that interesting that the key to correct interpretation of the inner to outer world creation is relaxation.
Hmm. Right. Well, I think tension is one of the ways in which we do bottle things up. So to become aware of your tension, I once had a mentor who said tension is the enemy of the artist. And if you
Mm,
think about an artist who really just is authentically expressing themselves, there's almost like a tunnel or a pathway for them to take what's on the inside and express it outwards.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I actually really enjoy that quote, especially right now with what we're talking about in portraying correctly what you feel inside. Um, because if that tension is there, and when you're meditating, it's when you can receive the clearest guidance, which is relaxation. So, with all that being said, when you're relaxing and you can receive that clarity inside yourself and that clear pathway to express what you're feeling inside correctly in the outer world, then that means that you're creating a life true to you. So if you're experiencing that tension in most of the things that you're trying to portray that you feel in your inner world, because I feel like that's what life is, right? We understand that we have an inner world, we understand that we have desires and things like that in our whole lives. All we're trying to do is portray those inner world desires and feelings into the outer world, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So in that, if you don't have that tunnel way, then the things that you're creating in life are through tension. So you're going to have like kind of tensional experiences, and you're not going to be able to get what you feel inside, who you believe that you are, how you believe you're supposed to feel, how you believe you're supposed to be, and things like that. you won't be able to portray that in the real world because there's so much tension. Now, I'm sorry that I'm rambling, but my final thought on this is that tension, I feel like the tension in the body is just resentment towards ourselves and others.
Ooh, that's an interesting thought.
Mhm. What do you
I
think
think
about it?
it's I think it's a mixture of low vibrational energies, including resentment, but maybe also fear. Um, because
Mm.
the I'm thinking about the typical therapy experience. Over the years, I've tried many different therapists so that I could better understand myself, and also working as a mental health counselor myself for
Mhm.
over 7 years. I think I've noticed maybe a pattern where at the beginning, the patient is not going to tell you everything, or they're
Mm.
going to tell you a portion. And so the therapist might say, okay, well, tell me what brings you in today. And depending on how much fear that person has, they're going to give a sliver of the story, a small portion, or they're going to talk about something that isn't really the reason that they're coming in, but it's maybe something they feel comfortable talking about. In any case, there's a filter going on, right?
Mhm.
And it's almost like a brick wall. And then I think that the more that a therapist or a listener or a coach is neutral and can demonstrate that they're neutral and they won't judge you, then it's like taking a sledgehammer to that brick wall and then breaking down one brick at a time, breaking it away. And soon enough, there's a hole in the wall large enough for the person's true thoughts and feelings to pop out through that hole.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, I completely feel that. And I think that you might be right about the fear being the actual root of incorrect inner to outer creation. Or not necessarily incorrect, but that's just how I view it in my mind. But I'm saying misaligned to you. So, like, if you feel like your inner to outer world creation is a little misaligned, then I feel like that you're right in the sense that um, it's fear, because recently I've been noticing, as you know, I have anger issues, and as I've been working on them over, I've actually like taken like an active role in really trying to understand my anger, and I noticed that every time I'm angry, it always turns into tears. It always turns into like a deep
Mm,
sadness, and I feel
hmm.
like that sadness was never sadness in the first place, and it was, or the anger was never anger in the first place, it was sadness, and then the sadness wasn't really sadness, but it was hurt. I felt pained, or I felt disrespected, or I felt something. But I feel like that fear to speak up about it, that fear to change something that you see that's misaligned, that you created, I feel like that's where it all derives from. It starts with that fear, and it works up to like sadness, or it works up to like pain, sadness, anger, and things like that. If you're not learning how to correctly portray that inner world to your outer world, then you are going to be experiencing misaligned happenings. Like, you're going to feel like you can't express yourself. And if you feel like you can't express yourself or say what you want or say what you're feeling or what's going on your mind, then most likely you're going to be experiencing something in your outer world that is not aligned with your inner world. You're going to feel like your inner world is saying something so much different than your outer world.
Hmm. Yes, yes. So there would be a conflict there. And I think that the conflict is an energy consumer.
Okay.
and this is my whole theory and outlook these days. It's a little speculative, but if you think about it, think about this. What if expression was energy creating and repression, meaning holding your thoughts and feelings inside, was energy consuming?
Motherfucker.
That's one way to look at
Wow. Wow, you just blew my motherfucking mind.
it.
That
Enter the mind. That's enter the mind,
I
guys.
love it. Oh my god. No, that's incredibly accurate to explain. So repression is the holding on of is the consumption of a specific energy of whatever you're holding on to. You're continuing to consume that energy, and when you're explain the other part.
It's energy. The question is energy consuming or energy producing.
Or
So
energy
what if
producing.
expressing yourself, what if expressing yourself actually gives you more energy, and then holding your thoughts and feelings in actually consumes energy?
Interesting. That would look really good in a diagram if you want to draw that up.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I will.
I here I want to talk about an example now, for the last 10 minutes here, kind of
Okay.
really paint the picture of what does it look like when a person does express themselves with ease. And I know, whatever, Donald Trump is controversial, but look at some of his express. I think he scores high. Here's the question: how do you score somebody? If you were to rank someone from 0 to 100, where 0 is you don't express anything you feel, everything that you say is a lie from compared to what you feel, versus 100, where everything that comes out of your mouth is 100% aligned with what you're thinking and feeling on the inside. I think Donald Trump would score high on that scale. What number exactly? Who knows? Doesn't matter. But if you look at some of his behavior, one of the funniest things that I ever saw was the clip of him during the COVID pandemic, and he's standing like 5 feet away from this woman who is at the podium giving a speech, and she's like, and actually, the other day, I woke up with a sore throat and I had a slight cough. And then immediately, Donald Trump, he's on stage in front of all these people. Donald Trump puts his hands up and he goes, uh-oh. And he takes 2 steps farther away from her because he doesn't want to get sick. And I was like, that is the funniest thing in the world, because um, I know he's not judging her for it, but how many people, 90% of people in the world, if they were in that position, they would stand there awkwardly. They would feel so nervous. They would be like, oh my gosh, this girl's sick. She might have COVID. I don't want to be standing here, but I'm stuck here because I don't want to move because I'll look weird if I move. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to disrupt the speech, whatever, right? He just did it. He dealt with it, and he dealt with. And when you deal with things like that, you can immediately move on because it doesn't start cycling the mind on that topic. It frees up the mind for you to address other problems.
So you're saying, I really like it because you're saying that the the inner world. So what impresses you about that scenario that you just explained, and what I just imagined was that everybody felt the same thing inside, and Donald Trump was the only one who
Mm-hmm.
expressed himself on that. And
Yes.
I love that too, because actually my mom is a lot like that. And like if somebody's sick, she'll be like, "Ew, don't come near me." And she'll be like, "I love you, but don't get me sick." And she's very blunt like that, but she has a way of making people not feel offended by it. Like she's just honest, and I've always appreciated that because I feel like it's a good form of self-expression of that inner world. Your inner world is like, "Dude, I don't want this person near me right now," or "Dude, this, dude that." And that correct and aligned expression is somebody listening to that inner world and being like, yeah, this is the way that it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that and listening to people. There's in The Apprentice, which was the Donald Trump's TV show. He did a celebrity season where I think it was like Daryl Strawberry, the baseball player, was one of the contestants. But in the middle of the season, he wanted to leave. He wanted to quit the show and go home.
Mm.
And so he goes into Donald Trump's office and he says, I'd like to leave the show. I'd like to leave the competition. And Donald's like, well, okay, what makes you want to leave? And the guy's like, well, I don't know. I don't know if this is for me or whatever. And from that statement like that the guy's not telling the full truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's like an avoidant answer. Yeah, I just don't know if it's, for me,
Yeah.
right? And Donald Trump's communication there, if you actually listen, I think he's really good at trying to get to the heart of the issue, because he was like, I think you miss your family. Do you, Daryl? Is that the reason? And then Daryl's like, I mean, sort of. And he's like, and it's okay. It's okay if you do. I think that's the reason. Is that the reason? And and I loved how Donald Trump he's going straight for like real talk. Like, hey, it's okay if you want to leave the show because of this, but I'm curious, is that really the reason? Versus this indirect, beat around the bush, uh, lots of talk but no real meaning conveyed sort of, um, conversation.
Yeah, and I appreciate that a lot too about Donald Trump. I feel like we've talked about this multiple times, but I like the examples that you're giving about the once again, it's another proper portrayal of somebody feeling something inside. Donald Trump's like, "Oh, it's probably his dad," and he speaks it directly instead of holding it inside, instead of consuming the energy of kind of like that energy pendulum. It's almost like fucking like a frog like leaping on leaping pads, like lily pads. And it's like this
Hmm.
emotion hops on your lily pad, and you can either let the frog continue to hop, or you can hold the frog on that lily pad so it can't move anywhere, so it's pretty much trapped. And I feel like if you let it move, and you let it flow, then you can let that proper portrayal of your inner world come out into your outer world. And this is all very exciting to talk about.
Yeah, I think it can apply to so many things, not just like, you know, the office, or the world of work, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, game shows, contestant game shows, or politics. I mean, it applies to relationships. What if, how could people's relationships improve if they were to catch these non-answers? And here's an example of a non-answer. You say, "Oh, you look bothered. Is something bother you?" No, no, I'm good. Yeah, I'm just not feeling. Uh, not just not feeling it. It's like that's one of those sort of vague non-answers.
Mm-hmm.
And as a romantic partner, if you were to catch that, if you were to be really aware of communication and you catch that, and then know to kind of look into that without judgment, right? You don't have ulterior motives other than trying to understand the reality of what's going on for the other person. And so you would say like, um, you would say, oh, I'm wondering if it upsets you that I didn't order, that extra food for you or something. Is that the reason? It's okay if it is. I'm just wondering if that's the reason, right? And then a dialogue between you and your partner can happen where you guys get to the same page. I mean, who wants 3 hours to pass by where there's like this weird energy in the room because one person is upset and they can't communicate that feeling of upset that's internal to them? They can't put it out to the outside because they're afraid of having a conversation.
Mm, that's very interesting. I That last set of words kind of connected in a certain way. I feel like the more that you experience other people communicating normally, you then feel more confident to portray your inner world correctly. Like, I feel like we've all been so used to, like, kind of not saying the real truth of what's on our minds. Everybody's just accepted that, and we've all gone along with it, and we've all learned it like that. And we're like, well, he's doing it, so I'll do it, and we can both do it together, and vice versa. But nowadays, I feel like people are really starting to feel the need, the really, like, there is a need. You will feel so unfulfilled and like so empty and annoyed if you don't let that inner world out. So I feel like everyone is doing that right now, and it's exciting to be able to have a conversation with somebody where the normal isn't tension and surface level answers. Like, there's space for you to be and to properly portray what you're feeling inside. There's no rush. People aren't rushing you. You're free to talk. And that's what I like about what's going on in today. And I feel like this episode was super needed.
Oh yeah. And so to wrap up, I'll pass it to you for a final thought, but here's my final thought is coming off this episode, people are going to be all motivated, especially if you're someone who holds a lot of tension and you never say what's truly on your mind. After today's episode, you're going to feel the padlock come off the door a little bit, and you're going to be like, okay, I'm free now, and you're going to start throwing these things out to the outer world, some of your own thoughts and feelings, and you're just going to throw it out there. But what's going to happen is, not always, but some people will react negatively or unfavorably to what you're saying, and then it's going to cause you to what? Contract. And you're going to be like, oh, forget this, I tried it for one day, and now I shared I spoke my mind, and now someone else had an outburst, or someone else yelled at me, or whatever, and now see, this is why I don't like to express myself. But hey, welcome to the battlefield of personal development. This is not the riverside promenade, enjoyable walk with the birds chirping and everything. This is war. Personal development is the bumpy road. It's not the smooth road, but it's the bumpy road that leads uphill to a better life and a better place. And I'll choose that road any day over the smooth road that gradually drops downhill with every additional foot and mile, because I know where that's going, and I'm not going there. That's not for me. I'm going upwards.
That was beautiful, Robert.
Thank you. Trying to express what's on the inside. 100% unfiltered here.
Well, you nailed it. Yeah, that really moved me. It was very inspiring, and I don't have any more words to say about it.
Well, I appreciate you for bringing this topic to the table here, because I think we had a great discussion, and you triggered a lot of ideas for me. I appreciate the back and forth dialogue today.
Absolutely. Today was fun, and I think that whoever is listening to this is going to get a better depiction of inner to outer world creations, some of the things that you can run into, some motivating things to keep you inspired, and underlying causes of it. So you pretty much have a little sandwich to eat for the next few weeks.
Love it. Yeah. And if this episode was helpful for you all, contact us, engage with us on Instagram. My Instagram is Existence First, and Kyra, yours is
Soul Designed Future.
Awesome. Talk soon, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.